my opponents and my fellow members today. This house supports that online schooling in Malaysia. This house supports that online schooling in Malaysia even after COVID-19 is over. Uh, so what we meant by this is that about online learning is that students can learn through online means, which is through from screen to screen from a distance where they need to see each other physically. And for the current circumstances in Malaysia is that even after COVID-19 is over, it would be very hard for the students to adapt to a new learning environment where they have to go to school every morning, every single day, and they have to get up early and prepare, go through all this vigorous preparation before studying at school. And so our objective is to create a new learning environment where more students have much easier access to education. All right. So the first argument I would like to propose, the first argument I would like to propose is that online schooling provides a much more comfortable and resourceful learning environment for students. This is because a lot of students before COVID-19, they have to go through the hassle of preparing for school early morning every single day. And what I mean by this is that in reality, they have to adapt a troublesome routine which has caused many students to lose motivation to study, such as um, waking up extremely early every morning and uh, getting to shower, dressing up themselves, looking at the mirror, and all those minor preparations that they have to go through to formally prepare to formally prepare before studying at school physically. And through online schooling, the time used to go through uh, minor hassles, they could be used by students to rest more before studying, and from this they actually feel much more refreshed and are able to gain new knowledge much easier and with a better mood and other than that, online that through online schooling they have internet access at home, which is not available in school. Before the pandemic, students at school, their only resources of knowledge is from textbooks, through their friends and their teachers. But teachers may not also be available about all the time, since they have to attend many classes every single day. And books also, they do not contain all the information you need to score the best grades that you may want to achieve. By learning at home through online means, where you have internet access at home, you can have much more ways of gaining knowledge and experience through the internet. As internet, generally it provides a huge amount, an abundant amount of knowledge, where you could even describe it as an a resource with infinite supply of knowledge. Because, as an example, the internet provides articles. They provide videos from platforms like YouTube and Google Chrome, and through these resources, they they can find new ways to understand topics that they have been uh, struggling so hard to understand. And this could be overcome through by watching some simple videos offered by people from all around the world through online platforms like YouTube. Um, it seems there's a POI. So okay, okay. So that is all for me. That's all for me now. I would like to pass on to the next speaker to give their arguments on this topic. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prime Minister, for that speech. Before we continue, just be mindful of the fact that you can give POIs, and I think earlier opposition did give the POI, and Prime Minister did accept the POI, but I don't think opposition caught on to it. So just be alert lah. If they said yes, I'll accept the POI, give you unmute yourself and give your POI. Okay. Yeah. Without further ado, I'd like to invite the leader of opposition. Here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to the government side and to the educators. My name is Muhammad Ifan Ramarizu, and I am the leading opposition for the opposite side. And under the motion, this house supports online schooling in Malaysia even after COVID-19 is over. Okay. Okay. Under the status quo, on our status quo, online classes still held due to COVID-19, but we are slowly integrating students to attend physical classes. Okay, and based on a burden of proof, which is we want to prove that physical classes are the best to include all students. Okay. Based on the what of the prime minister has said, one of the points that the prime minister has said, which was online classes has beneficial because students have internet access at home, and he specified that school has not internet access. What do you mean? Every school has not internet access? Well, my school previously has internet access, and we do quizzes online. We do quizzes online while having face-to-face class at the computer lab using the internet access provided by the school. So, what are you trying to? Why are you stating that schools do not have internet access? Do you have any proof that school has not internet access? Please justify on that. And you also stated that physical schools is hard for students to adapt in the morning, but when they wake up early in the morning, the students will build up their discipline bit by bit. So the discipline will be built up, and the time management will be more effective in the future. This is why physical schools that held in the morning but are more effective. But there are still schools in Malaysia that started their classes at the afternoon, and that is not a problem for students to attend to, as they still have more time to rest, to take a shower, to take their breakfast in the morning. And what's the point? Okay. Um, under the burden of proof that we want to prove physical classes are best to include all students, because um, is because all students in the class are put together in the same room for teaching. So this will be more effective in terms of discussion between the students among the students, or the students among the teachers, and the teachers can teach them face to face, and the students can focus more in class as the teachers are there physically to guide them rather than being online. Um, the connection between the connection between the teachers among students are more stronger during physical classes, and we strongly disagree to keep on going online classes even after COVID-19 has ended, because one, not all students can afford the ability to obtain a gadget to attend the online class, because nowadays technology gadgets, for example, smartphones, laptops, tablets, they are getting more expensive day by day. Um, and not all of the students can afford that. And okay, what about the commitment? What about the students' commitment to schoolwork for education through online learning? Are they more effective than physical learning? For us, we strongly believe that the commitment of students through schoolwork and education based on physical classes are stronger and more effective for themselves. Why? Because they need to hand in, for example, this teacher give a homework and they need to hand in tomorrow physically. So they need to do it. But if you do it online, if you submit it late, the teachers will just deduct your mark and not scold you that much. But if you are in physical classes, the teachers can scold you in front of everyone and makes the students feel like, oh my god, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to improve next time. And it will create an awareness for the students to do more, to be more effective, to be more punctual, to be more disciplined in the future. And okay, burden of proof for the government. We want you to prove that how online classes will give the same quality of education for students, and we want you to prove that how the students can fulfill their school commitment through online classes. So, under the stance, online school is not for everyone, I rest my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Now I'd like to invite Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Okay, greetings and salutations I bid to the judges, the timekeeper, my opponents, and my fellow member of the team. So I am the second speaker of I am the Deputy Prime Minister of the government team. So we on the government team supports the motion that this house supports online schooling in Malaysia even after COVID-19 is over. So I shall begin my argument by I shall begin my speech by countering the leader of the opposition team's points. So the leader of the opposition the opposition teams mentions that uh, uh, he questions why our prime ministers said that uh, why school don't have internet access. Well, for some people, of course, their schools have internet access, but certainly not all schools have internet access, because we need to consider this in a country context. So we have schools in the rural areas and also in the remote areas. Not every school is built in the developed areas. So in these remote areas, schools will have a weaker internet access, therefore unstable internet connections. And then uh, he mentions that not all people he mentions that it is more effective learning in physical classes since they are able to focus in the class as well. I would like to disagree with this point because actually this can be solved by teachers implementing the mandatory use of camera and microphone. So when students are required to use their microphones and camera, teachers can monitor their students whether they are paying attention to the classes or not. So they can teachers can keep track if they are distracted or doing other things. So that is not actually an issue. And then he mentions that not all people can afford a smartphone and gadgets and all that. Well, while this case may certainly be true for a few years back, however, we can see now that almost all students already have smartphones of their own. Of course, not everyone, but only a few of them don't have smartphones. So when only a few of them, government can actually uh, give aids to these students to for example give them free gadgets to so they can uh they can participate in online schooling without no issue. And then he also mentioned submitting late, and then he says that in physical classes teachers can scold you in front of everyone. Well, what makes you think that teachers can do that online? Certainly teachers can also scold you online in front of everyone. So, uh, I shall introduce my point. Uh, we suppose that online schooling is better than physical classes even after COVID-19 is over, since when we are conducting online schooling, we are actually using less cost. Why do I say so? Well, because if physical classes, students will need to pay for additional fees. For example, for hostel schools, they need to pay for hostel fees and the fees for facilities and in fact, when they are paying for uh these facilities are not even ensured to be comforting. We may be paying for our rooms or classes just to have a incomplete incomplete equipments and facilities. So actually it is better to conduct physical classes because we already have all of these things at home. It is we are learning in the comfort of our own home. In fact, I shall there is a statistic from uh, an a news agency that the current accumulative debt of students is actually 40 billions. This is a very staggering amount, showing that students are actually having problems uh, in terms of costs from the class. So when we are conducting physical class, where this is actually cost more for students. In order to avoid that, so that's why we believe that online schooling is better since it's reduced the cost of schooling. Uh, Another point of mine to support why online schooling is better since it is also provide easy access to classes, since all you have to do is after waking up and preparing yourself in the morning, you just have to open your laptop and join the meeting. It is easier than having to walk to school or going through riding your vehicle. You may be stuck in a traffic jam on your way to the school, and then you may even be hindered by weathers. For example, maybe on stormy weathers, we have to wait a bit before going to school. Where this certainly is not an issue if you are conducting online schooling, since all you have to do is just join the meeting. So it is far more easier. So that's why I from the government team we supports that online schooling is in Malaysia is supports online schooling in Malaysia even after COVID-19 is over. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for that speech. Now I'd like to invite Deputy Leader of Opposition. I think there's an announcement from the timekeeper for participants to turn on the camera. Thanks.
education is not just about telling people about science and mathematics. Education is all about forming that child, your student, to become the best version of themselves in terms of academic and also character building. Before I go on to that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning I bid to the educators, timekeeper, Mr. Speaker, and also members of the floor. And so today, as the second speaker, I will be rebutting the points given by the government side and also give my point under the key phrase of fulfilling a teacher's duty. Now on to my rebuttals. Firstly, eh, firstly, the Deputy Prime Minister has stated that not all schools have internet access, and he explicitly mentioned on about on schools that are placed in rural areas. Now, schools that are in rural areas usually contain students that are from rural areas themselves, and yet they say that those internet access at home is have a much higher internet connection compared to those at school. But both of those places are put in the rural areas in the first place. How are the internet connections are much better there? However, on our side, right, and also in the status quo right now, schools are being given internet connection. They are provided by the government internet connection in order for them to carry out education in terms of computer science, and also teach them how to use a computer and things like that. And they also said and the Deputy Prime Minister has also stated that teachers can still scold the students online, and so that they are not distracted by other things at home. However, try to see that the effectiveness of that scolding of the teachers telling them to do that is not the same as being scolded or being told off at school. Well, try this, for example. What's the difference whether your mom actually messages you not to cut school, and then when she's talking to you face to face? Which is much more effective? Of course, it's when your mom is talking in front of you, not through a text. So it's not as effective. And also, he also stated how physical schools will actually require them to require fees in for the hostel facilities and things like that, and how by having online classes they will actually be able to reduce those sort of costs. But ladies and gentlemen, right now schools and our government and even the administrations of states are actually giving out aids for students, such as scholarships and extra food RMT for the students for B40. There are also scholarships given by Yayasan Pahang, for example, Yayasan Selangor, and things like that. How can that not actually counter those sorts of fees in the first place? Yes. And also they are saying that is as walking to school and also getting up and having the routines and stuff. But actually, those sort of things will actually build character building. It will make sure that they know that education is not an easy road, but it's although it's thorny, but it is a full road of satisfaction where you will build yourself educationally and also characteristically. Now, before I run out of my points, before I run out of time, going on to my point, fulfilling a teacher's duties. Now, currently, for online classes, the teachers will either do an online conference, such as what we're doing right now, or even send out videos or tutorials through the chat room of their class. Now, the students will be required to watch the videos or the tutorials, and also answer quizzes or even the modules given by the teachers. Now, these modules can easily be copied from another friend, or even they can search it on the internet. And there's no stopping from cheating and copying the answer. How is that fully making sure that they are educating, that they are fully learning what they are taught in the first place? How is that learning? That is simply just writing down what you see on the computer. And even if some people do actually fully sincerely learn, not all students are fully like that. There is no guarantee. And what about those who are quiet in the classes? What they are scared to speak out to the teacher? I don't understand what they mean in this tutorial. Well, how are the teachers going to guarantee that they are understanding that sort of subject? the teachers are not able to, are not usually able to private message each and every one of the students. Have you done your homework? Do you understand? Do you need any help? And even if they do so, not all students are going to have the guts to message the teacher. They are still, they would feel like, oh, I'm so slow. They feel less motivated, especially seeing that they're seeing other friends of theirs being so brilliant in other subjects. The teachers can't exactly help them from afar. Compared to being in school, the teachers can actually help them by being next to them and providing them moral support. That is a much more effective way of educating the children, where they are not only receiving in education, they are having moral support from the teachers. Their friends are there to help them as well, and they are also slowly learning how to build their own character. and mm, and this ensures that a teacher can fully fulfill their duty in order to make sure that students are fully understanding. And this actually leads, and teaching in a physical environment ensures that the teacher will actually teach instead of merely just putting up videos and watch that video and do that. And so now, since I have a minute left, let's look back on the burden of proof. We have already proved that physical classes are the best to include for all students. We include all students, and which is if those who are less fortunate, they still have the means in order to pay for other fees. They can still have the same amount, the same quality of education as other students. And secondly, for the second, we said physical classes will ensure the fulfillment of the teacher's duty, as I've said before in our speech before. And for the government, they haven't exactly proved how online schooling will give the same quality of education. They never gave us a guarantee how each and every one will get the same quality. They kept on saying that they have the internet connection at home, but there's no guarantee. And even the aid is not enough to cover all homes. We have a lot of homes, but whether compared to schools, we can still cover more schools, cover more ground, and like that. And and they haven't exactly proved how they will fulfill fulfillment in terms of that. With that, I rest my case.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition, for that speech. Now I'd like to invite Government Whip. Here, here. Government Whip.
Sorry, we are having a problem setting up our camera.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, but there's a slight echo. Can you try speaking again?
Hello?
Yeah, okay, now it's good. If
Okay.
you have like internet connection, if you have internet connection difficulties, you can turn off your camera.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
Yeah.
I shall
Ah,
turn
yeah.
off my camera. Thank you. Cakap kalau ada internet difficulty tak payah buka kamera. Sorry. So may I start now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Greetings and salutations I bid to the honorable judges, timekeeper, my opponents, and my fellow members. So I would like to go straight to my points in which I would like to rebut about the points where the opposition's first speaker is talked about earlier, in which he talked about residents at home, which not everyone have Wi-Fi, including rural areas, in which nowadays governments are giving more and more aids to the student, in which they also give portable Wi-Fi's and gadgets such as smartphones with data and Wi-Fi in it. So I don't think that it's such a big deal. In which, as we know that online classes, especially for the daily school, they do not really stay in the college, in which government supplying fees for the students do not need to they can cut cost on their bills. So therefore the students the money using to cut off the fees can be used to provide gadgets for the students. So I don't really think that is a problem right there. And secondly, he talked about preparation. So students, there are some schools that their classes start on the afternoon, but my um what I'm highlighting right here is why is he taking that some school, as there are more schools that are starting their classes in the morning. So we are here to voice out for people who are starting their class in the morning, in which almost every school, primary schools and secondary schools, are applying their schedules since 8 to afternoon. And secondly, they talked about how teachers can scold their children effectively during physical classes. So I can highlight right here that they are focusing on the importance of teachers scolding instead of teachers teaching more. Are they um, are they supporting teachers to scold children more? So I don't really think that teachers should be um, highlighted to scold their children. Instead, um, um, not sending text messages. But they said about sending text messages, but teachers can also call and go to their homes and settle, because not there are not so much problematic students. Only some of them is. So they can also highlight when there are technologies such as when there are technologies such as Teams, we can watch out the list of names and we can highlight on which student is having problems and which is not. In which in physical classes, we do not really check out on the list manually on the papers. So when there are technologies, we can already list out and auto sort it by problematic students and unproblematic students. And when handing out assignments, we can see that how trustworthy and how precise that student is, because it can tell that it's 3 minutes late, it's 4 minutes late, instead of students just putting the assignment on the teacher's table and not knowing when did they hand it in. And they can even copy their friend's assignment and put it on the table, in which it would be harder to do during online classes. And this is which making physical classes also makes the student to copy other students homework easier. Thirdly, they talked about how physical classes can be more efficient, in which I feel like when physical classes, we need to travel from one place to another more, and students can be more tired and they can feel sleepy in class, and teachers can provide their students with no, I'm sorry, and not all students, not all teachers allow their students to eat in class, to wash up and things like that. So when the students are tired, can they be more focused? So next, nowadays, as we can see, students are having we are having online classes. Most of us are. So most of us already forget where we put our uniforms and things like that when COVID-19 ended. Even if we make physical classes, and when the students cannot find their uniform, they need to buy the uniforms. So instead of buying that 50 ringgit uniforms for each, they should already just buy 30 ringgit monthly unlimited internet instead. Why do we need to buy our waste our money on uniforms instead of the data when we can? So and more, they talked about how scholarships are being implemented. But then we are talking about school, not university. Most schools do not have scholarships, in which already we only get scholarships when we're in university. So and they also talked about writing down notes, in which physical online lecture, they just write everything that they found on the screen. Are you really sure that physical classes, students joining the physical classes, do not just write down the notes? And secondly, they also talked about connection between the teachers. But then we make online classes, but we do not stop the students from meeting the teachers, from making extra class for any questions. They can meet the teachers during after class to ask questions and things like that. But then uh, we also must not forget that not every school is daily school, in which some of them live in the college resident. They are the college residents, and they are closer to ask the question to the teachers. And we're not so during online classes, when the teachers is during physical classes, when the teachers is absent, the student will wander around as they cannot fit to go into another class. But when there are online classes, the student can just click the link and then join other classes. There are no problems with spaces. There are no problems with um, not having enough teachers and things like that. Things can be done online, and assignments can be still be done normally. So I don't feel like having online classes and is a big deal. So therefore, hereby, with all my arguments, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Whip. Now I'd like to invite Opposition Whip. Here, here.
Wait, all right. Okay. Okay. A very good morning to the honorable judges, the punctual timekeepers, the speakers on the government side, and also my teammates on the opposition side. So, firstly, I will go straight to my rebuttals. Um, wait. Firstly, the first speaker of the government side have said that through online classes, it will be more resourceful and more comfortable for the students. However, and they will go through minor hustles such as waking up early in the morning or even making their breakfast by if they join traditional classes instead of online classes. However, are you saying that studying in school is not comfortable? All right. And being too comfortable in your own personal space at home would also be more likely for you to fall asleep and even can't focus in class. And this would definitely affect the student's academic performance in the long term. Next, the first speaker of the government side have also stated that internet access at home is better than at schools. But how about those with no internet connection? This would definitely be a problem for them to join classes since they have no connections, and they would be missing lots of classes and surely fell behind compared to their peers. And the government side have also come up with a solution with this problem, which is giving gadgets to those with no internet connection. But the government side did not explain how giving gadgets can help them cope with this problem of not having an internet connection. Um, and the government side is assuming that everyone is having a good connection to join classes during the weekdays. And then I will move on to the second speaker of the government side points. He has stated that online classes would be less costly compared to traditional classes. So the government side have stated that paying for hostel fee or other fees that may include if you go through traditional classes. However, I I definitely think no, I definitely believe that gadgets are still more expensive than exercise books or even textbooks. And in addition, textbooks are given free and students can borrow them and they can return them at the end of the year. And my second speaker have also add up on this point that she said that some students who are having problems with paying any fees are provided with scholarship. So this will definitely uh, overcome problems with lack of money in the first place. And the second speaker also did say waking up straight in the morning and also open the laptop straight away. Sorry, I will take your PRI later. And most will waking up straight and opening up the laptop would show that students are less likely to be prepared for the class, and this would definitely affect them in the long term. And some didn't even prepare the books on the table, and teachers can't even monitor this. Even though they open the camera, even though it is mandatory to open the camera, how about those who doesn't want to open the camera? Okay, next I will move on to my questions. Okay, through online classes, even though it is mandatory to open camera as said by the government side second speaker, um, opening camera during class discussion, it would not be those who doesn't want to open the camera would definitely affect the teachers and other students when they come up or meet for a group discussion. However, on our side, by doing traditional classes we want to show that our method will ensure everyone to participate in the discussion, and this would definitely improve everyone understanding, and no one is like no one is not giving a commitment in that discussion compared to through online. Next, the government also did not mention what would happen to the school compound if online classes, if we are continuing online classes after the COVID-19. Would it be demolished or how? Okay. The government speaker also suddenly mentioned about cutting down on uniform, cutting down on cost of uniform through cutting down on uniform through cutting down on uniform costs instead of buying internet connection. Next, I will conclude my speech that our way of conducting education is definitely giving the best outcome and more benefit not only to the student but also the teachers. And our way, which is through traditional classes, will definitely maintain the quality of education for every student uh, from whichever background. Therefore, I will end my speech with this. Online schooling is not for everyone, and online schooling is not as effective in the long term compared to traditional classes, and we oppose the motion that this house support online schooling even after COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Opposition Whip. Now I'd like to invite Opposition Reply Speaker. Here. Timekeeper, just take note that reply speeches are 4 minutes long, not 7. Okay, Opposition reply whenever you're ready. Hello? Okay.
Ohana means family, and that means no one gets left behind. Education means learning something. In our world, we are not leaving anyone behind. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, and welcome back to the reply speech with me. And for the reply speech, I will be talking about three things. Firstly, the two stakeholders, the students, the teachers, and lastly, the quality of education received at the end of the day. Now first, let's go into the students. In the government side, they are saying that students will they have no need for extra routine. They have more access to videos due to their internet connection at home. And so in all from what we get to compile from the government side, they are saying that the students will have a more lax routine and they can breeze through school with not much of a resistance at all. While on our side, we will build character. Will help them to be more disciplined because they will have to go through routines, waking up early in the morning and be more disciplined in terms of academic and also in terms of their character. And in terms of internet connection, it still exists in our side of the world because as we said before, that the government have been giving multiple aids to schools, giving not only facilities, internet connection, and all that. So in our side of the world, students are not only receiving equal facilities for all. They have a more disciplined routine. They have much more. They are much more improved in terms of academics and also character. Now on to the teachers. We have both touched on the bonds between teacher and student. But on our side of the world, we are much more effective because teachers are really beside the students. They are literally in front of the students and they can fully connect with the students. They can give moral support. They can give them critics in front of them, which is much more effective compared to those on the government side where they are saying that they can still go through extra classes online or even offline if they do so. But still, that's less and the time spent on that is much less compared to ours, where the teachers and students will actually be able to bond for a whole day at school, and they will not only learn, they will also learn bonds between students and teachers and students and students, and also in terms of quality of education. On our side, students get to learn and from teachers directly. They get to learn with their friends. They can actually learn much in a much more comfortable way, comfortable way, and where they have a much higher understanding with with tutors and teachers teaching them face to face compared to those in the government side. While they do have access to videos at home, providing that they have internet connection at home in the first place, which is strong. They are, but also they are still less focused. they cannot truly get the full attention of the teacher to continually improve in terms of academic and also the quality of education, and that is much less compared to our side. So as you can see, through these three categories, we win in terms of students, teachers, and also quality of education. And so I, as last speaker of the opposition side, fully support this motion, and we are not we are no hap- we are supporting it under our stance that online schooling is not for everyone. With that, I rest my case.
Thank you, opposition reply. Now I'd like to invite government reply. Gov reply.
Hello,
Yeah.
our Deputy Prime Minister got disconnected again.
Okay,
She's
we'll
not
just
in the
wait
meeting.
for, yeah, wait for them. Okay. Try to resolve it quickly because we're running late on time.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we can. Yeah.
Asyik terambil sendiri. Okay. Greetings and salutations again. I bid to the honorable judges, precise timekeeper, our worthy opponents, and my fellow members of the government team. So I shall give the reply speech to our argument here. We would like to emphasize we from the government team support wholeheartedly supports that online schooling in Malaysia is even after COVID-19 is over, because we emphasize on the points that online schooling will provide less cost and also provides the comfort of your own home and also easy access. Now, even though the opposition team did in fact provide some worthwhile rebuttals to our point, I would like to point out that they are simply cherry picking our points, because there are some of our points that they have not addressed. For example, um, they did not address that my third speaker has mentioned that scholarship is only for university students. They did not give any rebuttals to that points. And then she also mentions that when in physical classes, if physical classes is conducted, students will have to walk around through their labs and classes, and therefore they will tire them out. Uh, Therefore, this will disturb their focus in class because they are tired. Now, they also, well, they said that physical classes is easier to focus because of in terms of communication, because they have better interaction with teachers. We also needs to consider that when they have better interaction with teachers, they also have interaction with students, with other students. So actually they are easier to get distracted because they are open to chatting with their friends. So this actually physical classes does not really guarantee that students can also focus in class, because there are also other distraction in class. And then uh, they did go on their way to defend uh their points, but I think they are defending their points without not really any basis, because they said that um in such as the internet points, they said that giving gadgets doesn't relate to giving internet. Well, when we mentions that government can aid in giving gadgets, certainly we mean including the data as well. Meaning that government can actually collaborate with telecommunication companies to in order to have incentive to give free data to students. So actually it is our points are not actually out of are not do not stray from the so our point is actually valid. And then uh I would also like to conclude that actually in this technological advanced age, it is actually time to move on from the traditional classroom, because we are already advanced in terms of technologies. They are also the use of internet is also very worldwide nowadays. So it is time to move on from traditional classroom and starts uh starts in time to start online schooling even after the COVID-19 is over. With that, the government team's supports will happily without a single speck of doubt that online schooling in Malaysia is even after COVID-19 is over. With that, thank you.
All right, thank you, government reply, and thank you everyone for the debate. What's going to happen now is just wait in this call. Catherine and I will go and discuss the decision, and we will come back with the feedback. So just wait here. Okay, hi. Can anyone confirm if I'm visible and audible? Hello? Can you all confirm if I'm visible and audible?
Yep, you're visible
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we've already come to a unanimous decision because the debate was quite clear for us at least, but it's not very reflective in the margin because I think it was a close debate but clear for us to adjudicate. So here's how I'm going to structure my feedback. Firstly, I'm going to give you the decision. Secondly, I'm going to give you general comments and things that you can improve on. And thirdly, I'll explain why I give the winning team the win. First, the decision. On a close margin, we give the win to side opposition. Okay, I repeat, the winner of this round is opposition. Congratulations and commiserations, Gov. Second part of this feedback is general comments. There are 4 things I want to point out. The first thing I want to point out is teams need to realize that the most important arguments need to come out in first speaker. And I think specifically for this debate, both first speakers, PM and LO, were quite lacking in the more important argumentation, but the more important ideas came out only in the both second speeches in both sides. So you need to know that in preparation, you need to give the most important ideas to your first speaker. If you think your first speaker can't deal with them, then you should think of switching the positions or something like that. But the most important ideas need to come out from first. Second point of feedback is try to not focus on arguments that are not so important in debates. But I think this one takes more experience to know this. In most debates, for example, at online school, many small ideas like internet access, which became a big issue in the debate, is not so important because things like quality of education are the more important issues that you need to address. So try to prioritize the more important ideas in your speech as opposed to focusing on very small things like scholarship and things like that, which are not so relevant or impactful in debates like this. Third piece of comment is whip speeches are not allowed to bring new arguments. And I think specifically government whip, they had many good arguments in your speech, but all completely new. Like uniforms are really expensive. Students are very tired of physical classes. Scholarships are, but the scholarship things, I understand that it's a response. But many completely new ideas came out only in whip speeches. So that's something that you want to look at to try to strategize. Either give it to the speakers before you, or drop it altogether if it's completely new. The fourth thing is this debate could have been a lot better because there are many areas in which you all can look at some more. For example, with regards to subjects. So will you be able to take more subjects in an online world, or how will the subjects look like? Will there be an asynchronous mode where you can do it at your own free time, rewatch lectures, rewatch classes? These things could have been explained more in depth because those are what online classes are mainly about. Second thing is, I think another area is interaction with peers and hands-on learning with group presentations and all that could also be an area that you talk about in online schools and physical classes. Whether or not practical hands-on lessons are something that is important, whether or not you can have it in online classes, how will it be different? Those things are also important. The third thing that you can also look at is mental health. How online classes probably has harmed mental health of students, whether they're depressed and cannot learn. Those things are also very important, crucial areas that you need to discuss, that you could possibly discuss in the debate. Okay, that's just a general comment. Why did I give the debate to opposition? Ultimately, the debate boiled down to 2 main questions. The first is, which side guarantees better access to education? And secondly, which side promises better quality of education? On to the first question, which side guarantees better access to education? I think government very clear-cut from the start told me online education is great because there are more resources online and you can watch videos on YouTube, which is like amazing. Opposition says we also have that benefit because schools also have internet access and Wi-Fi. But I think the pushback from government was that not all schools have internet access, and mostly in remote areas, schools don't have internet access, and that's a problem. Opposition says, I think this was going back and forth whether or not internet exists or not, but it's not so much of a contentious issue because whichever team that proves got more internet, you won't win the debate because you don't prove me specifically why quality of education is better with or without internet. So I think teams need to spend more time telling why with or without internet is better rather than claiming the benefit that we have internet, we don't have internet. Okay. So opposition's pushback was that even if it is true that like some schools don't have internet access, it is worse under government's world because certain students don't have internet access. And this specifically came out from Deputy Leader of Opposition to suggest that students in remote areas don't have internet access, they don't have gadgets, they'll never be able to learn online school. I think government had some pushback from this, but this specifically came out in whip to suggest that you can subsidize things like portable Wi-Fi and data. This came out the clearest in whip. Although previous speakers also said it, you don't tell me what exactly you can subsidize, but government whip told me you can subsidize portable Wi-Fi and data. Although it came out late, I can still take it as elaboration to existing arguments. But I think it's still not enough because although you prove to me there's some level of subsidy to internet and gadgets, you don't tell me why a lot of poor people that is right now in status quo cannot actually access proper form of internet in the first place, even if they have some level of gadgets. And you need to be very realistic, and you can't get your cake and eat it too. So I think government needs to make concessions in this debate to say we agree that maybe not everyone can have good internet or not everyone have gadgets, because of course government cannot give everyone free tablets. Need to debate realistically on that as well. So based on that, I think opposition to the very least tells me some people cannot access the internet, and it's believable for me. But then it's also important to know that government says cost. Government, specifically Deputy Prime Minister, says about 40 billion is spent on physical classes, but you don't tell me what are this money being spent for. And again, only government whip told me that uniforms are expensive. So I think all the examples need to come out much earlier to paint a picture what exactly it looks like. But still, I took that example and still took it on that uniforms might be a little more expensive, and that there's a high cost with physical classes. But I think what opposition tells me is that gadgets are significantly more expensive on that ground. So for me, it's more believable, marginally very close, that maybe gadgets and maybe internet is a difficulty, and therefore opposition wins slightly on access. But having said that, I still think government's very close on this issue on accessibility because of their strong arguments on cost and Wi-Fi. But the second issue, and I think this is where the debate became much clearer, and this was the more important issue, because the first question of internet and access is not as important. This quality is the way I feel is the crucial part of the debate. So what did government tell me? Government tell me that internet is much better. I mean, online school is much better because people can have their own comforts of their living, the own comforts of an online learning system within their own houses. And I think again, government whip had a new argument to say that people will be tired in a world of physical classes because you walk around to different labs and all that. What did opposition tell me? Opposition told me four things. One, that you can scold individuals better. It's more effective in a physical learning environment. I also agree that it's probably not so important. And government also responded to this by saying you can still scold on an online world. But I think there's a contradiction here, because government whip says you cannot really scold because school should be about learning and teaching, not about scolding. But your deputy prime minister said that you are also for scolding and you can scold for online. So that's a bit of an inconsistent contradiction there. But I didn't take it so much because I don't think the scolding argument is that important. But the second thing opposition tells me is that they learn the hardship of school because they build their character when they go through the hardship of walking to school or going through traffic or being stuck in jam. All this makes them like value that school a bit more, and it makes them more disciplined. I don't hear any response from government to this specific argument in character building. And thirdly, they told me why online learning systems is easy for you to cheat. It's very easy for you to copy things you don't really learn. Government says, what's your guarantee that they don't copy or just write down everything in physical classes? I do agree that in physical classes you maybe can copy things, but I do agree with Op that on online it's much easier because teachers will just send things on WhatsApp as they said, and they don't really check what's happening. I agree that there's no incentive for teachers to really teach the students and just take it lightly. So I think government needs to deal with those specific nuances in order to win that argument. But finally, I think the strongest thing on opposition was that they said teachers can monitor students and have a personal relationship with students because they're right next to the student. So they can give moral support, friends can give moral support, and they can give some level of monitoring there. I also don't hear any response from government as to how they deal with this problem. And based on that, I think opposition very clearly proves to me that a physical learning environment is one that is more higher quality because of the reasons that he mentioned, and that's why opposition marginally wins today's debate. Any questions? Okay, if not, thank you very much for the debate and good luck for future rounds. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for the
you
comment.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay.